The autumn wind howled through the empty parking lot as Vin Diesel locked up the late-night diner where he worked as a manager. It was well past midnight, and the small town of Millbrook was fast asleep. He pulled his collar up against the cold and started walking toward his truck when he noticed something unusual near the dumpsters. A figure sat huddled against the brick wall, knees drawn up to her chest, shivering violently. At first Vin thought it was just another homeless person seeking shelter, but as he approached cautiously, his breath caught in his throat. The girl's skin had a faint iridescent shimmer under the parking lot lights, and her eyes when she looked up at him were larger than any human's, with pupils that reflected light like a cat's. "Hey, are you okay?" Vin asked, keeping his voice gentle despite his racing heart. The girl said nothing, but her shivering intensified. She wore what appeared to be a thin metallic suit that offered no protection against Earth's autumn chill. Without thinking twice, Vin shrugged off his thick leather jacket and draped it over her shoulders. "Here, take this. You're freezing." The girl's luminous eyes widened with surprise. She pulled the jacket tighter around herself, and for the first time, Vin saw something like gratitude cross her alien features. She whispered something in a language that sounded like wind chimes and distant thunder. "I don't understand," Vin said, crouching down to her level. "Are you lost? Do you need help?" The girl pointed upward at the stars, then touched her chest, and finally gestured at the jacket with what seemed like reverence. Vin understood she was far from home, stranded, and his simple act of kindness meant something to her. "Wait here," he said, pulling out his phone. "I'm going to call." But who would he call? The police. They'd probably think he was crazy. Instead, he made a decision. "Come on, you can't stay out here in the cold." He helped her to her feet, noting how lightweight she seemed, almost as if her bones were hollow like a bird's. She clutched his jacket around her shoulders, like a precious treasure as he guided her to his truck. Vin lived alone in a small house on the outskirts of town, which seemed fortunate now. He set up the guest room for her, showing her the heater and bringing her blankets. The girl, he started thinking of her as Lisa, after his late sister explored everything with childlike curiosity, running her delicate fingers over fabric, wood, and glass as if memorizing textures. "You'll be safe here," Vin assured her, even though he wasn't sure she understood. "We'll figure this out in the morning." Lisa nodded slowly, still wearing his jacket over the blankets he'd given her. As Vin turned to leave, she spoke again in her musical language, and though he couldn't understand the words, the tone was unmistakably grateful. That night, Vin barely slept. His mind raced with questions. Where had she come from? How had she gotten here? Was she in danger? Should he contact someone? But every time he considered calling authorities, he remembered the fear in her eyes and the way she'd relaxed when he'd shown her kindness. Morning came too quickly. Vin was in the kitchen making coffee when he heard the sound, a deep, resonant hum that made the windows rattle and his teeth ache. He rushed outside and froze. 3 ships hovered above his property, sleek and beautiful, their surfaces rippling with the same iridescent quality as Lisa's skin. As he watched, paralyzed with awe and terror, they began to descend. The largest ship landed in his backyard with impossible grace, disturbing not a single blade of grass. A door materialized in its smooth surface, and 4 figures emerged. They were all female, all similar to Lisa but taller, more regal, with an air of authority that made Vin instinctively straighten his posture. The lead woman, her skin shimmering with gold undertones, approached him. When she spoke, her voice resonated directly in his mind. "Human, we seek the one called Lisa. Our instruments detected her distress signal from this location." Vin's mouth went dry. "She's inside. She's safe. I didn't hurt her. I wouldn't know," the woman interrupted, her mental voice softer now. "We observed your interaction. You gave her your protective garment when she was suffering from your planet's temperature. You offered shelter without demanding anything in return." Behind him, the front door opened. Lisa emerged, still clutching his jacket, and ran to the other women, speaking rapidly in their musical language. The lead woman listened, her large eyes never leaving Vin's face. "Lisa is a scout, separated from our expedition during a solar storm," the woman explained. "She crash-landed far from our rendezvous point. She was certain she would die in your cold night." "I couldn't just leave her there," Vin said simply. The woman's expression shifted into what might have been a smile. "No, you could not. This is interesting." She conferred with the others in their language, then turned back to Vin. "Among our people, the gift of warmth to a stranger is the highest honor. You saved the daughter of our high commander without knowing her identity. This creates obligations." "I don't want any obligations," Vin said quickly. "I'm just glad she's okay, which makes the debt even greater," the woman replied. "We have been watching your species with curiosity. Human, you are violent, chaotic, often cruel to one another, but you are also capable of this spontaneous compassion for a being completely unlike yourself. You interest us." Lisa stepped forward and carefully removed Vin's jacket. She folded it with reverence and returned it to him, then touched her hand to her heart and bowed deeply. "She says you will always have the friendship of her house," the woman translated. "And I, Commander Zyril, extend that friendship to include our entire fleet. Should you ever need us, Vin Diesel of Earth, you need only look to the stars and call. We will answer." Before Ven could respond, the women began walking back to their ship. Lisa turned one last time, her luminous eyes meeting his, and he saw something universal in her gaze: gratitude, respect, and perhaps a touch of sadness at parting. The ships rose silently into the morning sky, leaving Ven standing in his backyard, holding his old leather jacket and wondering if anyone would ever believe what had just happened. He looked down at the jacket and noticed something new. A small, luminous symbol had been woven into the leather near the collar, glowing faintly with alien technology. A gift within a gift, a promise kept. Vin smiled and went back inside to finish his coffee. The universe had just gotten a whole lot bigger, and somehow, a whole lot friendlier too. Sometimes, he thought kindness was the most powerful force in any galaxy.